So now we get to the concept that is my absolute favorite, which gives you the framework for how to understand the power that you currently have and are using, and how to have the ability to see how that's meaningful. And that is the social brain versus survival brain. Um, so this is completely in your center of control from the video that we did, the last video that we did, but most people are completely unaware of it. And that is how you use your nervous system is one of the major powers that you have to make an immediate impact on the world around you. And authoritarians win because they understand how to manipulate people's brains, to divide their opposition, and to take away the opposition's ability to be effective. And we win when we counteract that. So let's dive into this. A critical thing to understand is that as human beings, we have what I will roughly call a social brain and a survival brain. And when people feel safe and relaxed and connected, it's actually really hard to get them to hurt each other. Human beings have incredibly powerful wiring for social connection. We mirror each other's emotions, we take perspective, we feel empathy, we try to help each other. And every time there's an oppressive regime, they actually have to actively work it to block empathy and compassion and helping each other. That's sort of innate in human beings, at least when they're in this relaxed state. And so authoritarians, there are a lot of tools if you study them over history. They are segregate, they tell rationalizing stories, they get people to look away, they make people afraid, they disconnect people from their feelings. And even then, even when they try all those things, people still feel this sense of dissonance and discomfort oftentimes. And when people are in this relaxed and connected state, they also have access to really awe-inspiring problem-solving skills. We can physically move food around the world. We can coordinate thousands of people to peer into the interior bits of the atom. Human ingenuity is absolutely amazing. But one thing that's really important to realize is that our access to these social brain skills is very fragile. When we feel under threat, that can be from Trump, but also threats to our social standing or our image of ourselves as a good and competent person, or a variety of things, a much older and more powerful part of our brain activates, and that's our survival brain. And I want to note that this is a simplification. If you are a neuroscientist, please don't wince too much. But this sort of framework of looking at things is a useful simplification. The human brain in reality is obviously much more complex. But survival brain, often known as our fight-flight response, you've probably encountered that. When we are under threat, what it does is it pulls resources away from everything we would normally be doing. And this is actually everything from digestion to complex thought. To be like, my goal is to survive the next 30 seconds. Very time limited. We get tunnel vision on the threat and we lose peripheral awareness. Our focus narrows to this very, very, what is directly in front of me, very time limited, very spatially limited. And as a key piece, which I didn't actually realize for years until I sort of ran across more of this stuff, is that we lose access to things like our memory, or at least have diminished access. And similarly, we're much less able to access our ability to slow down and think things through, to take other people's perspectives, curiosity, creativity, awareness of our relationship with others, ability to learn, ability to reconsider things, complex problem solving, all of those things. The options available to us to respond shrink. And two of the main ones being lashing out or running away. And there's this sense of urgency that takes over, and actions become reflexive, and we're not thinking about them because our nervous system is screaming at us that we have to do something, anything right now, or we'll die, and there isn't time to think. And so it's very, very, very reflexive. And the solutions that make sense are to lash out and run away, typically. And so the goal of authoritarians is to put people in their survival brains because that makes them ineffective and easy to manipulate. Either give them something to smash and they won't notice while the billionaires walk off with the money, or goad them into reflexive, ill-considered actions that don't work while the billionaires walk off with the money, or trigger a flight response where people look away, retreat, do nothing, and let the billionaires walk off with the cash. You see a theme here. And so, at its core, the struggle against authoritarianism is the struggle to get people out of their survival brain back into their social brain, because that's where you can talk with people and actually solve problems and effectively foil the authoritarian's plans. And so, really, every interaction that you have with someone, you are making an ask of people that you don't necessarily realize, because which brain you're in is contagious. The way that you interact with other people invites them to mirror you, and you exert substantial influence on whether you pull them out of their survival brain or push them into it. And there's more on how you do that I'm going to cover in the next session. But I want to plant that seed because you are having an impact on the world every single time you interact with another human being. And this is especially critical to be aware of as conflicts start to crop up, especially within your organization or with allied organization, which is that once external events knock a few people into their survival brain, it can snowball very, very quickly. People going into fight mode can't reach Trump, but they sure as heck can land a really satisfying punch on their best friend. And it's very common to see, these nasty, nasty fights over really small things. Something happens, people get that tunnel vision, they latch on the font size and the e-blast, and if it's not 12 point Times New Roman, then we're all going to die. And the emotional weight of everything that's going on lands on this little tiny fixated thing. And that's very characteristic of survival brain. Whereas at the same time, their capacity to take in new information, to be flexible, to think of creative solutions, to keep a sense of proportion, left the building. And, or alternatively, we will see people go into flight and be like, I'm out, see y'all, never coming back. Also a common response. And so getting people back into their social brain and getting yourself back into your social brain is one of the most consequential things you can do to be effective. It creates the civic fabric that our politics will ultimately reflect. And that is what we want, for people to react, for example, to immigrants with compassion, not by whacking folks. And this is also the social brain and community connection are what authoritarians directly attack. They're trying to get us to withdraw from helping each other, to be scared, to be stuck in a rut, and to lash out ineffectively. So not letting authoritarianism take root in us is one of the most critical pieces that we do in order to be effective and to build a movement. So for the exercise for this video, what I want you to do is just reflect. Where do you see the social and survival brain cropping up in your life and in your organization? And in the next video, we'll talk in a little bit more depth about how do we get people out of their survival brain.